We gotta talk about this crazy Chinese spy balloon because yesterday I jokingly tweeted, which of course I encourage you to follow me on Twitter. You can see some of the crazy stuff that I post there at Real Meat Kevin. But yesterday I posted this crazy post that here is a leaked photo of US airspace tomorrow following Biden's harsh actions today. And this post was inspired by the fact that we didn't shoot down the large Chinese spy balloon. And my joke was that there are now going to be 8 of them in the sky. And obviously I'm being facetious because I don't actually expect there are going to be like 8 of them in the sky. But I photoshopped an image of 8 of them in the sky anyway for the lulz. Now what's remarkable is no earlier, or should I say no later than 5 o'clock yesterday, do I get a message or a notification that now all of a sudden a second Chinese spy balloon has been discovered in Latin America. And apparently, China is sending them all over the place now. We have no idea how many of them there are. These instances have come up in the past, but apparently now there are 2 Chinese spy balloons floating around. Now, it's remarkable, and I'm going to give some thesis in terms of my theory as to what's actually happening here, because I've got an idea. Apparently and allegedly, and I don't know if this was like an after-the-fact backlash, and so they wanted to politically re-engineer the message, but some people are saying, hey, Joe Biden actually wanted to shoot down the plane, but the Pentagon's like, no, you can't shoot it down because the damn balloon is like the size of 3 school buses wide, and if you shoot it down, what ends up happening? You end up getting a lot of a debris field, and if you have a debris field, guess what? You might potentially end up hurting people, and that's not good. Sure, but then again, the darn balloon was also floating around Montana and Kansas, and let's just say there's plenty of open space for you to calculate the trajectory of you shooting this thing down and it landing where there ain't nobody you gotta worry about. Now, obviously, who knows what actually happened? Did Joe Biden say, let's shoot it down after he got a bunch of backlash on the internet? Or did that happen before? Nobody knows. But Canada apparently first saw the spy balloon coming through their airspace. It kind of floated over the Pacific Ocean from China and through Canada and down through Montana. Obviously, the concern is, hey man, why y'all flying spy balloons where we've got military bases around the heart of America? China's like, no, it's just a weather balloon. It's just following the jet stream. We can't control it. But then yesterday, the Wall Street Journal's like, wait a minute. The darn thing just it just maneuvered into a different direction. It obviously is controllable. The Chinese are controlling this. It's probably not a weather balloon. Well, no duh, it's probably not the weather balloon. You know what? Because China tells us, oh, well, it's just a weather balloon, and it's conducting other scientific research as well. Sure, let's fly a balloon somewhere around 60,000 feet in the air above America and get substantially better real-time imagery of America than we could get from a satellite. It's kind of interesting. Now, what's also very interesting, and this is where I want to get into my thesis as to what's actually happening here, because obviously the Pentagon doesn't want to shoot this thing down, although there were some videos on Twitter of what looked like potentially something getting shot down. Nobody really knows what this was yet, but I also replied to it yesterday, and I'm like, what is going on here? So I'll go ahead and play that. It's basically apparently a video from Montana where somebody says a military jet just buzzed a neighborhood. And so after a military jet buzzed a neighborhood, this person takes out their camera and starts filming. And you get this footage of what looks like something being shot down. I can't actually confirm that.
With a malicious intent.
Hold on here. I don't think we have audio. I don't know that there is actually audio. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you get some kind of flash and some kind of boom. I'll replay that. Yeah. So basically what you have is something that looks like, a comet in the sky, big contrail of something falling, and there's some sort of explosion in the sky. We don't know if that was just the breaking the sound barrier, like a jet breaking the sound barrier. That's entirely possible. We don't know if something was actually shot down. It certainly looks that way from the picture. The Pentagon and the White House say, no, nothing was shot down. And then the balloon was no longer spotted in Montana. It's been spotted in Kansas, and now it's expected to be somewhere over by Tennessee. Now, then it begs the question, are there multiple spy balloons already? Well, given that we saw another one in Latin America, maybe there are. Who knows? But what we do know is exactly what Colleen here says. China lies about everything. Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that. But I think nobody actually in China believes that America believes this is a spy balloon. Let me tell you what I think this actually is, starting with where it is. So this spy balloon is floating around at 60,000 feet. Now, that is above our air traffic. Our air traffic's generally at 30 to 35,000 feet, and private jet travel is somewhere around 40 to 45,000 feet. Now, what's interesting about that is private jets, like a Citation that was flying, I think it was a Latitude that was flying around Kansas, actually reported a derelict balloon floating just a few thousand feet above it, and they report this to the FAA. And I think the message that's being sent is, hey, here's China, really trying to purposefully toy with your airspace. Even though we're at that safe level, 60,000 feet or close to private jet travel is kind of a way of saying, hey, we're just gonna taunt you, America. Usually we fly spy balloons between 80 to 100,000 feet. Why don't we fly this spy balloon at 60,000 feet? So that way the private jet people can see it and the Americans can see it from the ground. And it sends an uncertainty. It sends a signal to Americans of, oh my gosh, the Chinese are watching us. On top of that, it sends a message to the Biden administration of, look, y'all aren't doing anything, right? Even though maybe they want to and they're choosing not to, whatever. It's China's way of basically telling Americans, you should be afraid of China because your government ain't gonna do anything about us. And you know why this is happening? In my opinion, this is retaliation for two big things. Number one, the CHIPS Act, sanctioning China and limiting the export of high-quality, advanced manufacturing chip machines like advanced lithography machines from ASML, the Dutch company, to China. A Dutch company is not allowed to sell advanced lithography machines to China because America said so. China is like, how dare you? F you. Now, people are like, why can't a Dutch company sell products to China? Well, because if they do, the United States will say, fine, we won't do business with you anymore. And guess who does the most business for advanced chips with companies like Taiwan Semiconductors? Obviously, Taiwan Semiconductors doesn't really like what's going on in China. And ASML. Obviously, America. Because not only do we have the largest chip demand in the world, but we also have the largest demand through our chip demand, chip making equipment from companies like ASML, maybe even other companies like Intel. Intel is the third largest chip manufacturer in America, and it's expected to spend over $100 billion making new chip making plants over the next 3 to 4 years. It's going to be a lot of chip making capacity and a lot more orders for chip manufacturers or chip equipment manufacturers, again, like that Dutch company, ASML. And so what does ASML not want to do? They don't want to lose American business. So they comply. So who loses? Well, we lose in part because things get more expensive when you cut out part of the world, right? Consumers always end up losing when it comes to sanctions because things become more expensive. That's just simple Econ 101. We won't go through that sort of explanation. But what's more important is China gets pissed because China's like, you're saying we have to take the old, like third generation or like the old generation crap and you guys get all the new stuff, all the advanced stuff. And America's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And China is kind of like the little toddler talking to their parent. Like the parent is obviously stronger, but the toddler is starting to grow up a little bit. And they realize that, well, even though they may get thrown in timeout, they could still throw crap down the stairs and piss you off. And that's kind of what China's doing because it's sending the signal of, hey, we can fight back too. Obviously, that's somewhat what China is doing here. They're trying to purposefully, oh look, Fox is playing it right now on TV. There's a video of it. Pentagon confirms second Chinese balloon. In my opinion, what you have China trying to create a retaliatory, saber-rattling environment for America and send the signal that if you limit us from being able to buy chips and you keep doing business with Taiwan, well, we'll do missile tests, we'll do military tests, we'll fly balloons over your country. And you know what? That's politically gonna look bad for you, because guess what? you're too much of a weenie baby to actually shoot him down. And because he ain't gonna shoot him down, we're gonna look great. And then guess what we're gonna do? The more you sanction us, the more balloons we're gonna launch. And the more stupid crap we're gonna do to make Americans feel worried about China. Because the more Americans are worried about China, the more Americans are gonna call into their Congress people and go, do something. We hate that our administration and Congress people aren't gonna do anything. We're not gonna vote for you anymore. And then in some degree, that actually makes politicians go, maybe we don't wanna be so harsh on China because I'm losing votes over here. See how it's all like a game of 4D chess? You think China really gives a crap about what they can't already see with satellites, this higher resolution imagery? You think they really give a crap what Nancy's doing in her backyard in San Francisco? Although they didn't fly over San Francisco. And there's probably not much going on in the backyard over there anyway. You think we really care what Karens are doing in Montana in their backyards? Or what these military facilities look like that have our ICBMs and nuclear warheads in the middle of nowhere? We really think China really needs a weather balloon to spot that, and that they'd really be so dumb to signal some form of like impending attack? Of course not, because there is no impending attack. It's all just saber rattling. It's for the show. It's designed to make everybody talk about China. And guess what? When everybody talks about China, it puts political pressure on politicians to do something. It makes them look weak, and then they get pissed because they don't want to look like little weenie babies. But now they do look like weenie babies. And so guess who wins? China. So whether or not you actually shoot the balloon down, China wins. Because China says, we are a loose cannon, even though they won't ever actually do anything. Well, no guarantees, just knock on wood. But that's the signal they're trying to send, is, hey, we can. Look what we just did. We just flew a balloon over your country and you did nothing. Y'all weak. It's all gamesmanship. That's all this whole balloon thing is. I mean, look at it. Look at this. Look at the caption on Fox News. I mean, it's no surprise on Fox News. Biden silent on Chinese spy balloon, right? Let's just listen for a moment.
I mean, in Montana, we have an Air Force base. We have about a third of our strategic missile defense silos scattered across the land.
So here's a Republican, the governor of Montana. And what's he doing? He's bagging on the Democratic leadership. Obviously, that pisses off the Dems. And that is how China wins. China wins by Fox News showing all the voting people. The voting people wake up early, okay? The old people wake up early and watch Fox and Friends. And us who are watching now, okay? And if you're old, I respect you. If you're young, I respect you too. I think it's great. I like waking up early, but everybody's different. You know, no shade on somebody who wants to replay it later. Doesn't matter to me. But look, this is exactly the media attention China wants. They wanted this sucker to be seen because it's part of psychological warfare. That's what this is. It's so simple. Nobody gets hurt except Americans' feelings. And that's what China is doing, in my opinion, in retaliation for Taiwan, Nancy Pelosi visiting Taiwan, Kevin McCarthy potentially promising to visit Taiwan, and the CHIPS Act. China's pissed. They want the advanced chips because advanced chips, guess what? Advanced chips go into bombs, they go into missiles, they go into computers, and they go into things that people buy, like iPhones. And people want the advanced chips and the latest and greatest. Who wants to buy an old chip or phone? Nobody. Everyone wants the latest and greatest. So who wins? America. America wins militarily, America wins with product sales, and China loses. And China's pissed about that. China doesn't want to lose. China already got embarrassed enough with the COVID-0 lockdowns. So now they're waving their little saber around in the air again, and that's exactly what you have going on here. It's simple psychological warfare. That's it. Now, now I understand we could get, you know, we like, let me just put it this way, and I'm not going to comment on it beyond just reading it out loud. Joe can't do anything. China owns Joe and Hunter. They have given both millions.